there, family, and welcome back to another edition of Crenshaw Corner. I am Sanchez Crenshaw, and we thank you so much for being a part of what we're doing. We thank you so much for being a part of who we are. So we're doing something just a little bit different this particular episode. If you've noticed by now, you have not heard the voice of my wonderful wife. She is actually sitting this particular episode out. This is what we're going to call a bonus episode, if you will. So for our first-time listeners, this is not normal, but we thank you for being a part of what we're doing. However you found us, whether it's on iTunes, whether it's on Podbean, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on iHeartRadio or Google Play Music, or whether it's through our personal website, which is www.thecrenshawcorner.com. We thank you for being a part of us. For our returning family members, we thank you for continuing this journey with us. We thank you for just being a part of everything we're doing. We thank you for your support. We thank you for your love. As always, we consider ourselves an interactive podcast. Simply what that means is that you can find us on the socials. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, all in the Crenshaw Corner. And then also you can find us at our website at www.thecrenshawcorner.com. Once again, www.thecrenshawcorner.com. So as I said, this is not going to be a regular episode of Crenshaw Corner. Actually, what I have with me is a very special guest. So I'm going to kind of give you a little background on this gentleman. So not only is he a very talented rapper / singer / R&B icon, he's a talented music maker, talented producer. Also, and before the episode ends, we'll tell you how you can find his music. And then not only is he a brand new father, he just celebrated his first Father's Day, but he's also my son. So what we want to do is actually, I wanted to have a conversation with him. Anybody who's listened to Crenshaw Corner know we're all about perspective. So what I wanted to do in this episode was get a perspective of a new father who in 2020 is raising a son. So say something. Say hello.
Hello.
Tell him your name.
Hefty introduction. Thank you.
No problem at all.
My name is Dalen Brown. As he said, I'm his son, the youngest boy.
Yep, my youngest male child.
The first father of our family out of the kids, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're all about perspective. So Day and I have had conversation, but we haven't really had in-depth conversation about his whole fatherhood journey. And, of course, you know, my perspective of being a father is so much different from his perspective of being a father. Also because we're both raising kids, or, well, he's now raising his son in a totally different era than when I was raising my kids.
It's a different time for sure.
It's such a different time for sure. So my first question, Dave, is that let's kind of take it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So when you first found out, and okay, what we do here is we're honest. So whatever honest emotion you have, it's okay to say. So when you first found out that you were going to be a father, when you first had that conversation, what's like the first thing that went through your head at that point in time?
Really, I was like at my friend's house. Like recording, actually. I was like recording music at my friend's house. Like, not even thinking about that really, but she called and said that was the case. First, she said she had a dream that that we had a baby.
Right.
I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then so she went to take a pregnancy test. There we go. Like multiple of them, and it was confirmed. I was like pretty excited, honestly. Just thought it'd be cool, really. I don't know. Like, yeah, I was excited. And
you
then,
just thought it'd be cool?
Yeah, I was like, oh, this would be like amazing. Like raising like a little. I wanted a daughter at the time, so like in my head, I was like a little woman, you know. Like I was like, dang, this is like gonna be really cool. Like, cause I grew up with brothers, but I grew up around like mostly women in our family. You
Right.
know, like my grandma, my aunts, like really wasn't that many like dudes around.
Yeah, this family is dominated by women.
So Yeah, that was kind of. I was excited, and then like, I would say like probably like 45 minutes to an hour later, I was like, oh, I'm having a kid. Like this is my whole life is about to like 180.
So it took about 45 minutes for it to really sink in that, oh
Yeah,
snap, I'm about to be a father.
yeah. At first it was just excitement because to be frank, she and I like we wanted that to happen. Like that's like what we wanted. You know, just like to be together and like have a family and like be family and like raise a very strong human. And so yeah, like I think we accomplished that. And then it was like, oh, okay, I gotta get some money.
So, because I know you said that initially the first thought process is that you actually wanted a daughter.
Yeah.
So, during the whole pregnancy, when you found out, no, it's not going to be a little girl, it's actually going to be a little boy. What shifted? How did you feel at that point?
Uh, I wouldn't say much of a shift because though I wanted a daughter, there was like no preference between like what could happen. You know, like I
Right.
was never like, dang, I'll be sad if I have a son or something. I just basically saw it like, okay, if I have a daughter, she's gonna run track. If I have a boy, we're gonna play basketball. Like, so in my mind, I was gearing up for a whole other sport.
Right.
But no, like really, the shift was just like the certainty of like knowing exactly what we were having, not necessarily the switch from feeling like I was having this to that. It was more like, okay, now we like know concrete for sure. Like we're having a little boy, and then I was thinking about all the ways in which I would raise myself again, if that makes sense. Like, it's like, how do I unmake the mistakes I made? Not for him, but like, because I already know the things that I was doing as a kid, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like,
It
now
does.
I'm like, okay, like, I won't say I'm prepared for what he could go through, because obviously times change. But I'm sure I'll just go with, like, a bit more ready, a little more prepared than I may have been. Because now I'm like, okay, it's a little dude. And this is like me. This is not that he's me or like anything that I've been through, but like I get to like raise part of myself in him, which is like really cool. Like the things that he likes, like how you guys raised me, really, like my interest, all the things I wanted to do.
Right.
Like I began to think about that really. Like okay, word, this is like a little dude.
What was the first thing you wanted to teach him?
Basketball. um, there's like a few things I feel. Um, Yoga and breathing. I think that's like a big part of life. Like,
Explain. Expound upon that for me.
um, I just think breathing is like underrated. It's like because we just do it so naturally. We think sometimes you don't even know you're taking shallow breaths and you're not even like taking the full advantage of like what your lungs can do. So I feel like being able to meditate and like have like quiet time to just breathe, if that makes sense, would be
Right.
like really good for him. Because I feel he's gonna be like a really easily excitable kid. Like I'm not pretty flamboyant with personality or anything, but
No, very, very low key. Very low key.
but I think he's gonna be like the opposite of me, which is that'll be good for him to like be able to learn how to breathe and like control his breathing and learn mindfulness and to really like have his own thoughts really,
Right.
you know, to experience his own thoughts outside of everything else, like having that kind of quiet time to yourself to like think. And then I really do want to teach him basketball, but yeah, all right, so like breathing, yoga, basketball. I really want him to get into like some sort of martial arts, probably like boxing and jujitsu. Those are the things that I
Right.
would like him to like learn.
Well, don't worry about the martial art aspect. I'm already taking care of that. I already decided a long time ago that I'm
Yeah.
putting him in martial arts.
I want him to like do jujitsu. It's like a different kind of philosophy, and it like
Right.
is really based in like learning from the teachers, not necessarily like trying to do stuff. I feel like karate and all that. Like it's just too fun for kids to like, you know, the discipline is still there, of course, because they want you to respect what you're doing. But I think a different cultures like the way they do it from Brazil is like really cool because it's really about teaching. Like it came from a father showing his kids how to like protect himself. Like
Right.
that's where that like originated from. Um, yeah, and then piano just so he could like play an instrument. Like that's like my main thing in life is like music. So
Okay.
I definitely want to have him pick up some kind of musical talent. I know in whatever grade, what is it, like third grade, they just make you play the recorder or something.
Yeah, I think
Like,
they still do that. It's been a while since I've been in school, but I think they still do that.
yeah, like, yeah, that's like worthless personally. Like, I just, like, I remember going to school, having a recorder, playing it, and I cannot tell you what note is what today. So I want him to really, like, get with the piano and, like,
Right.
learn music because you could play anything on the piano. Every song imaginable is the same notes. It's the same 12 notes. So,
Now, one thing you said, which doesn't surprise me, is that you want to teach him meditation and breathe and the importance of taking time to breathe. Actually, I want to step back for a second, talk about you for a moment.
sure.
You, now, of course, over the years, you've grown, you've learned, you've made some mistakes, you've bounced back from them. We all have. But the core essence of who you are really hasn't changed since you've been a little boy. And you've always been at peace kid or that kind of laid back spirit. Because I remember the time we always tell this joke where, we were traveling down the highway and we just saw you randomly sitting in a field, just just meditating, like in just some random field. And it didn't surprise us, like, that's just who he is.
Yeah.
You've kind of always been that person. Where did that come from with you? That kind of just laid back, that take time. Where did that come from with you?
Realistically, like if I had to like pinpoint a place, it would just be like the home life. Like I was like the young one. My brothers are loud. Like everyone's like older than me and like much more talkative. So I never really got a chance to like say much. So I would just honestly just keep to myself. That was like the coolest way that I could like do stuff. And then I learned a lot more listening than I would have if I was like talking anyways.
Right.
So sitting with myself seemed like the easier thing to do. Like, yeah. And then that turned into like walks, which is like really cool because like I found like Indian people take a lot of walks. And they walk till they're old, like super old. Like
Right.
they'd just be walking like till the sun comes down, and I like that. So I would just start walking, and that'd be like a part of meditation for me. And then I read like a book by Bruce Lee, called Striking Thoughts, and he talked about meditation, and the best time to meditate was like early in the morning. And I always felt that way because that's like when I feel like the most creative, like really, really early in the morning, like right before there's even light outside, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. when the foxes are out. That was just like the most peaceful time, really, that I could like gather. Everyone else is sleeping, and I get to like have the quiet of the world brush over me. So that was like always nice. But I think it just stemmed from mostly just being the youngest in the family, and then like I wouldn't say like not being able to say whatever I want, but just kind of like picking my places, my spots,
Right.
really, like, yeah, just the young one.
It's interesting. Like I said, that conversation we've never had. So I was kind of interested
Yeah.
in that because, like I said, the core essence of who you are since a little boy really hasn't changed. You've always been, you're the type of person you really can't look at your face and know what you're thinking. You're always very even keeled.
Yeah.
You're not really excitable. You don't really go too far one way or the other. So I was just kind of curious with
That's
that.
it. Really is like the family thing, because even my cousins, like I think about like my aunt Mel and my cousin Jamel and my other cousins Bianca and all of them. I'm like, yeah, everyone talks way more than me. Like I'm just I'm just like picking my spots. Like I'll just throw a little joke in there, or like, yeah, okay, one of those in there. But it mostly was just because everyone else liked to talk.
Right.
I didn't feel the need to. I would rather much listen, chill out, and observe.
Now, did that did that help you? Because we're gonna kind of get into a little topic real quick. So I know. So you went through the 8 months of pregnancy, the 9 months of pregnancy,
Yeah.
and then of course when your son was born, there was some health complications that came up when he first came
Mm-hmm.
into the world. So my question is, how did you deal with that? Because not only are you a new father, you're a young father, so now you got this life that you're responsible for that came into this world kind of hard.
Yeah.
So did that kind of meditation, yoga, breathing, did it help? Did it hurt? What kind of talk me through your thinking process, or talk me through where you were during that first 3 weeks.
In a daze, personally, like I don't know if anything helped me. I was like a zombie, and to me, personally, like if I had to say it, it was like I was a zombie. Like mostly because she was in labor for like 30 hours, and her labor started at when she started, the water broke was 1:33 a.m. something odd like that.
Right.
Like sleep, just wake up. She's like, it's game time. I lace up my shoes and hit the court. And really though, but like it was just really an odd time. So like from that point on, I was just like no sleep. So then we go to the hospital, and they're like, yeah, you're not dilated, so you can go back home for a bit. And I was like, oh man. And the hospital was like 45 minutes to an hour
Right.
away. So I just drove an hour to sit there for an hour for them to be like, well, go home and get some rest. Like, it'll come back and happen. And,
Oh, let me interject for a second, because the initial plan was to be a water birth.
yeah,
Is to
natural
be a
water birth.
natural water birth, because initially it wasn't a hospital you guys were going to, it was a
No,
birthing center.
it was a birthing center, which is kind of definitely more our style. Like, to want to be in the water, like, really natural, no epidurals, like, nothing. Like, I was going to be in the water, too. Like, it was going to be a whole beautiful family magical moment.
Right.
But, yeah, plans don't go as plans should.
All the time, right?
Yeah, so you just kind of roll with the punches. And so we come back home. I'm like trying to I'm literally like watching over her like a hawk. Like she's probably going to go to sleep. She's like having the craziest contractions she's ever felt. And so she's like trying to sleep. She's like drifting in and out. Like I cannot understand even the words she's saying.
Right.
I don't know what she wants. Like so yeah, for the next like 12 hours almost, maybe like 10 hours, we just kind of sat at home. Her being miserable, me being like way too alert. Like,
What's going on through your mind during this time?
I truthfully, I was like, I hope she doesn't die or anything. Like, to be frank, I was like, I just don't want anything to happen to her, the baby. Like, because I have never been through a birth or anything,
Right.
and her water's definitely broken. Like, it was confirmed broken. Like, contractions confirmed. Like, we're actually, like, in labor. Like, it's happening. It's just not happening. So, she's like, the doctor, the nurses, the midwives, the midwives, they were like, when you get to that super unbearable pain, come back. I'm like, I wish we could have just stayed there because super unbearable, and then like an hour later, it seems like really it doesn't go together. Like, we've got to drive an hour to get
Right.
there. Like,
And plus, on top of everything else, this is happening during the height of COVID.
yeah. So like no family can be around. It's literally just me and her and the baby to come. And like I said, so like 10 to 12 hours later, we're back at the place at the same time that we just were like a half a day ago, essentially. Like,
Right.
so we're back there at like, this time it's more like 3 a.m. we get there. No, it's like 2 a.m. because it'll make more sense. All right. So 2 a.m. we get there. she's dilated, but nothing's happening. She's just in terrible, terrible pain. Like, so I'm like pretty much freaking out internally, trying to like get her to drink Gatorade and water or something, lay down a warm towel. Like I don't know. I'm just like making it up. Like
Just trying to do something, right?
yeah, make her feel better. Like should we walk around? She's like I can walk, and then she can't walk, but for like a step or two. So there was like a really interesting moment, and then the midwife that was on call, she was there. It was amazing. Like shout out to them. Honestly, they did a fantastic job. And yeah. So we go to the hospital. We rush up to the hospital. I throw the lady in the car. I didn't literally throw her. I throw her in the car. And yeah, we speed off to the hospital. I'm following the midwife because I have no idea where I am at 3 a.m. And even if I cut on the GPS, I just feel like I was like delusional at this point.
Right.
So yeah, we get to the hospital. The midwife takes the lady upstairs, and I've got to like sign the papers downstairs, like for all this to happen. And it's like the oldest lady they could possibly have is at the counter. Like the oldest lady they found, like in the city of wherever we were.
Right.
They found her, and she was working that night at the desk. And it took a lifetime to get these papers done. Like she had to print things out. Somebody called her in the midst of this. Like the whole process was like slow motion. It was like if it really was a movie, it was like a timer going off in my head. Like oh my gosh, like I'm gonna miss the birth of my child because this old lady is just old. Like there's nothing wrong with her. She's just old and she cannot move as fast as she probably did 40 years ago.
And as you needed her to at that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm honestly in a panic. So like I needed her to be in a panic. Like but she wasn't, and then she was old on top of that. So I was like I let her begin to print out the papers, and I just like ran to the car and like got a sip of Gatorade. I needed a timeout break. Way sports references, can't help it.
It's okay.
Needed a timeout. Just had to go sip some Gatorade and like grab my camera and like remember that I'm still here.
Right.
So yeah, we
still try to be in that moment.
Yeah. 15 minutes later, I finally get escorted up to the to the room by a really nice security officer guy who recently just had his first child as well. So we were like having that moment in the elevator. I was like, okay, that kind of like calmed me down. And we're like walking and talking. He's like, you're going to love being a dad, man. It's incredible. Like, completely changes your life. I'm like, yeah, okay. Like, you know, I've been in labor for like a half a day and some change. So I was like really kind of into it. Like, wow, this is a great moment to like hear from a person. But I just really wasn't having it at that moment. Like,
it's too much going on.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, just get me to the room. I didn't say that to him, but like in my heart, I wanted to just be like, just get me to the room, man. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. But like, I just want to like be with my lady at this point. Get to the room. They're like turning my lady over like a rotisserie chicken, trying to get this baby to come out. Like, turn over, upside down. Like the baby was not coming out. And with every contraction she was having, his heart was like, he was getting upset. You could see like his heart be like dropping or like raising way too much up. Like it was like one or the other. So
now as you're seeing all this, like you said, them turning her like a rotisserie chicken, seeing your baby's heart rate fluctuate that much, what was going on through your mind at that time?
You know, on the way to the hospital, she and I had this moment because it was like never what we wanted to like have a C-section, and we just looked at each other and we were like, look, if we have to do this, we're doing this, right? Like she initiated that conversation, which is like the conversation I wanted to have anyways, because I was in fear that if it didn't go as planned and then didn't go as planned again, that we would have to do that, and I didn't want her to go in there and be reluctant to do it, and then I'm just a real believer in energy, so I didn't want any bad energy around it. I want us to come to like an agreement that whatever needed to be done to have them both here would be what we should do. So that was like our moment in there. So like the whole time we're in the hospital and things aren't working out, I'm I'm literally just waiting for them to like call the surgeon personally, because I already know like the baby's in distress. She's in like super pain. We could like alleviate this. Is obviously not my choice.
Right.
But then they brought it to her and she was like, "Cut me open, doc." And because she's a gangster.
I could actually really hear her saying that too.
Like, she's just like, "Let's just do it." And they were like telling me the whole thing, like, like, okay, we're gonna sedate her a little bit so you can come in and watch it happen. But if it's not working and we have to like super sedate her with like plutonium or something, I don't know, whatever it is that like literally shuts people down for like hours. I think that's like so scary, by the way. So anyways, so they do that, and by the time I walk in the room, the baby's already being lifted out of her.
Right.
So I'm like literally seeing the moment of it being like lifted out of her, put onto the table. And that was like super cool. I was like, wow, like what an incredible moment. I sort of missed it, but I didn't miss it. Like, if it was up to me, I would have been the one with the scaffold, like cutting her open. Like, that's how I wanted it to be. Like, I know that's like very unrealistic. I would need years and years of training. No disrespect to doctors.
You just wanted to be totally involved with
Yeah,
your
that's
son.
just how I am.
Yeah.
Like,
Plus, you're a little controlling.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this is how I am. My personality is just like, look, like I got myself into this mess, like that's
Right.
how I see it. Like I did it, doc. It's cool. Like you don't have to. I'll take it from here, man. Like, so yeah. I see the baby be lifted onto the table. There's like 4 doctors around him. They're trying to get him to make his first sounds. I take the camera. I get some pictures. I get a video of him making his first sounds, which sounds incredible to me.
Right.
But like later on, I figure out that it should have sounded different, obviously. But just hearing my baby make a noise for the first time is like the most glorious thing I've ever heard.
Just make any noise
Yeah.
at that point in time. Yeah.
I mean, he was just kicking me, last week. Like my hands, that's all I knew of it. I don't even get to share the experiences that she has, that's like a whole other conversation. Like the things that she grew him, like
Yeah.
I didn't feel any of that. I literally, this is my moment. So like, I'm like looking at her, and she's like as high as can be, and I like go over there and sit next to her, and she like busts out laughing like to herself because she's like very high off of whatever drugs.
Whatever
those
drugs
are.
they got her.
And she's like, oh my God, he looks just like me. And I was like, dang, this is true. I'm like, why do people say the craziest things when they're on these kind of drugs? But the baby did look just like her. I was like, dang. I was like a little jealous. Then I wasn't jealous because she was going to still be on that table, and I went into the nursery with the baby.
Right.
So like I closed the door behind me and waved at her. That was my moment to shine. No, I'm kidding. But no, I go into the nursery, and he takes his first poop, which was like pitch black. Never seen anything like that. It was like squid ink.
Right.
Absolutely terrible to see. Not terrible to see. It just looks disgusting, but it was really cool. Like, wow, you just took your first poop after being like inside of someone. Like, wow, this is amazing. Like, he really let one go, you guys. But so this is the part that like kind of got to me. So I go back in and I check on her, and I'm like holding her hand while they're like patching her up, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so happy." And I like laugh and gas her some more because like just be quiet. And
As you can see, guys, we share a very similar sense of humor.
like just stop. And no, but I really did laugh and gas her though, because the doctor, she was like starting to feel it. Like
Right.
she was like actually trying to pull the curtain down for the doctors. Like she wanted to see them patch her back up. Like I don't think she knows she was doing that, but she was like pulling the curtain down. So like I just hit her with a little laugh and get relaxed. And
Calm down a little bit. Just calm down.
Yeah. And they're like, it's totally okay. You can give her as much as you want. And I was like, oh, don't tell me that. We'll take this home. And So I went to go back in the nursery to check on the baby, and the door was locked. And that's when I was like,
Oh, this is
I was
something.
like, I was just in here. Like, this is
Yeah.
this is a little weird. Like, I was literally just in here. This is the only baby in this hospital at the time. Like, it's literally 3:30 a.m. Like, that's the time of his birth. It's 3:30 a.m. I'm just like, there's no other humans in here. Like, why would it be locked? Why wouldn't I be able to come in?
Right.
And they were just trying to figure out why he wasn't like getting enough oxygen. Like, he wasn't breathing. So one of the nurses coming back to me, she's like, we're just trying to figure out and get his levels correct to make sure he's all good to go. And I'm like, cool, like, get those levels, lady. Like, do it. Yeah. And I try to go back in again, and it's, like, still locked. And they finally, like, bring her out to the room we were in, and we're just chatting. She's, like, basically high. I'm basically, like, talking to her mom, like, talking to you guys, like, everything's cool. Like, because I'm actually thinking it's okay. Like, I'm not in the know that something's actually wrong.
Right.
Just thinking, like, okay, like, he just came out. Like, obviously.
It's gonna take him a minute to
Yeah,
kind of
like, you
get his
know, like,
bearings and
I don't
yeah.
know. I seen Dr. Show spank him a bit. I don't know what you do. Like, I don't know. So, yeah, I'm like, it's all cool. Like, everything's all good. And they're like, okay, well, we're still not getting his levels. Like, something's not right. And they asked me, they're like, what hospital close to your home would you like us to send him to? And I had no idea how to answer that question. Like, that was like a foreign question to me. I was like, what do you mean?
Because at that point in time, you were not expecting that
They
particular
didn't
question.
have like an ICU nursery that would like take care of the very complicated thing that this would turn out to be. So they wanted to send him somewhere that was more suitable and more likely to handle the situation. And yeah, so super helicopter flies here within the hour, and they're like, yo, we're gonna take your baby to Levine's. And I had only been to Levine's hospital one time, and I was on the main side.
Right.
My friend had gotten a terrible wreck. He was on a motorcycle, and a man in a car hit him, and almost ruined his whole life. Like, he broke a lot of bones. He was really messed up. And so that was the only time that I've ever been to this hospital. So I'm like, dang, you're about to send my kid there? Like, even if it's the kid's side, I'm like, I assume this is like dead serious right now. Like, so the hospital people get there off the helicopter, and they've got my son in like what looks like a box. Like, he's in like an incubator box or something. Like, just absolutely crazy. Like, the things you actually see on TV, like with the fake gloves, like, you know, you like reach in it and you can't touch them, but like.
And now stuff you've seen on TV, you're actually seeing.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, this is
pertaining
nuts.
to your son.
I'm like signing papers right now. You're about to like take my kid on a helicopter. I've never been on a helicopter, so I was like jealous again. But really though, they like flew him out on a helicopter, and I'm like, okay, like now I have a choice because my lady's like in here like chopped in half, can't even move, and my son is like on a helicopter flying somewhere else, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna call you as soon as we land. No one calls you when they land. They don't call you when they land. That's a lie. I'm sorry to say that they're liars, but like that was just a lie. Like, that part, I needed someone to call me when they landed. Like, I've never been in a helicopter. I don't know anything about helicopters. I just needed someone to call me. So I'm calling the hospital at this point, and my lady's like, she's like, you should just go there and be with the baby. Like, I'll be okay. And I'm like, like, this is like a really hard decision to make. Like, in my head and in my heart, I'm like, I don't know where to be.
At any point in time, did the thought cross your mind, or were you afraid of losing her?
Yeah, like the whole time I was thinking, like, I just didn't want anything bad to happen to them both, because like I've never seen her in that kind of pain, and this is like a young woman who has tattoos on her neck. Like,
high threshold of pain.
Yeah, I'm like, I've never seen her like this, and like she's leaking blood, all kinds of things, and then they're showing me the baby's heart rate, which is like the scariest thing you can see is the truth, you know? Like I can like physically see the truth. The numbers are like right there.
Right.
And that is what probably scared me and traumatized me even more. It's like we're looking at what's happening. Like his heart rate's dropping. I'm like, okay, like it felt like I could possibly lose them both, like in a gust of wind almost. But
I think what happens with you saying this is kind of reminding me of something because it's something that happens all the time, childbirth. I think a lot of people don't really understand the danger in it, the danger in childbirth, the danger in actually pushing a new life through another life form into this world, and
it's
how much
scary.
can go wrong with it. Is because of course we make it seem like it's mundane, like because it happens all the time.
Yeah, it's a miracle. It
Yeah,
is,
but at the end of the day, it truly is a miracle.
yeah, like it's the most magical thing I've ever been a part of. Even though it was like a C-section and things like that, it's like you don't get discredited because you had a C-section. Like that's not how pregnancy and like life giving works. There's like you don't get an A plus plus because you delivered in some water. You get an A plus plus because the baby's here. Period.
Right.
Like that's how I see it. So, yeah, she's like, you should just go be with the baby. So I like hop in the car. I'm zooming out the parking lot. Have no idea where I'm even at because like now the lights come up. So I'm like, oh wow, like I can actually see this place and I don't know where I am. So I'm like GPSing at the stop sign before I turn out of the hospital. And just as I'm turning out, I see my lady's mom turn into the hospital, like, who was not supposed to be there, actually. Like, they weren't even going to let her up. But I, like, actually asked the people before I came. I was like, her mom might come. I'm unsure. Can you please just let her up? Like, I'm about to leave and go be with the baby. They were like, we really shouldn't right now because of COVID and all that jazz. Like, just having different people in and out of the room and all that kind of stuff, especially because she's such a high risk with being pregnant.
Right.
But I was, like, kind of grateful to see her mom. I was like, whew. Like, I can't be there. I needed someone.
Somebody there with her. Yeah.
So here I go speeding down the highway to Levine's hospital, and I get here and I like instantly remember like, oh wow, this is where my friend was in the hospital. Okay, so like I go park, I run in, I go upstairs. Obviously they did the whole check your temperature thing, like yada yada yada, the whole COVID, and I get up to like I think the 8th floor of Levine's, and I walk in. And this nurse lady's like talking so sweet to me, like, oh my God, you're the dad. We're so happy you're here. And I see like, I kid you not, at least 9 doctors around my baby. Now there's other babies in this room, but there's
Right.
like 1 to 1. Like that was the ratio. It was like 9 doctors around mine. Like
When you saw that, how did you feel? Your initial impression when you walked in the room and saw that many doctors and medical people around your newborn baby, how did that make you feel?
it made me feel. I really don't have a word for that particular moment because like it's not even like they pointed him out to me. I just knew, like I was like, oh, that's my kid. Just by the way they ushered me into the room,
Right.
I knew that I belonged to this situation, you know. So I sat down and the head doctor was already on the phone with my like sedated woman, and he was like telling her like, yeah, you need to get here, this is like a super serious situation, we don't know if the baby's gonna make it, like nothing, like they were just like, we don't know what's wrong, like he's just not getting oxygen, like we don't know what's wrong, you need to get here. And she's obviously can't feel her legs at a hospital that's like an hour away. So I'm literally sitting there talking to all these doctors. Every single doctor has come up to me now and like talked to me. And at this point it's like I'm cramming last minute for a test that I didn't know I was about to take. They're
Right.
giving me information overload. And I'm just in shock because the problem that they're telling me he's having is like in his heart. It's like nothing that we did, nothing that anyone can control. It's just sometimes arteries in the heart are switched, and because these two arteries are switched, the oxygen wasn't being able to flow to the rest of his body correctly so that he could breathe the way that he needed to. Like, that is what was happening, but you can't see that on the x-ray. You must see that on some super crazy something past an x-ray. I really have no idea because they have to be able to see such small things such as the arteries.
Right.
So yeah, that was
So at this point, you're, what about 24, 36 hours, no sleep?
yeah.
You had to leave your lady, as you say, who was cut in half,
Yeah.
doped up and cut in half, and then travel an hour and some change, driving on no sleep to get to a hospital to be told that we don't even know if your son's going to make it.
Yep.
So that's all you're dealing with within this 24, 36 hour time frame.
Yeah, and then
Wow.
I'm literally like, this is the first moment I actually fell asleep. So the doctors talked to me for like the next hour or so, and yeah, I'm like literally staring at these people stare at my son, and next thing I know, I wake up like 30 minutes later, and the lady's like, "You can go sit in this like lounge room. It's right next to this room right here. Like it's not very far." And I was like disoriented, like didn't even know I was sleeping. So I was like, "Yeah, I guess." So then I go in there and I kind of like nap for like 20 minutes, and then I start getting phone calls from like my lady. And she's like, yeah, they're going to bring me there in an ambulance. And I was like, what? No helicopter? And so they bring her in the ambulance and they get her a room at Levine's. Well, the other side of the hospital, the main part.
Right.
So now they're both at this hospital. It's just they're on two separate parts now. So that was like, okay. She won't be able to see the baby because she can't walk or do anything right now, and it's like I can take the baby over to her or anything because they don't even know what's really going on, like to the fullest extent, really. So, all right, she gets there, and then the big doctor comes in there and he talks to me and he's like, "Look, this is what's happening. Your son's got switched arteries in his heart. We're gonna have to go into his heart and poke a hole." Put a balloon in that hole and expand the balloon in his heart so that we can create a big enough hole for oxygen to get through now through a tube. I'm like, okay. And then they're like, tomorrow we're going to go back in, close said hole from the balloon, and then switch the arteries.
And at this point, he's not even 24 hours old yet at this point,
Nothing.
right? Yeah, he's
Nothing.
not even a day old.
Nothing. This is what they're telling me. They're like, all right, you must sign these papers today, like right now, if you want this to happen. I mean, I'm signing whatever they put in front of me. They could have signed my soul away at that moment. I wouldn't have even known, really. Like, I'm just like, yeah, fix him up, bro. Like, I want to take a nap, fix him up. She's over there worried. I know she is. Like, whatever we got to do. So they're like, tomorrow we'll do the procedure. And then if that goes well, depending on how he does with the breathing tube and such things, that's when they'll know whether or not they can actually do the full-on heart surgery for him. If he didn't do well, they would have did the heart surgery immediately.
Right.
But if he did well with the tube and then the first procedure of the balloon, then they would wait a day and a half to 2 days to do it, just to give his body time to heal up a bit from the first part of what they would have to do to get him right. So I'm like, okay, like just do whatever, because at this point, I don't have like anything else but this to lose, you know? So like, if I do nothing, I've now lost the game. Like, I will lose my kid.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, just do whatever.
So very quickly in a very short time frame, it went from the joy of seeing my son being born
Incredible. Like, got a whole video of it. Like,
to now I'm having to make decisions on whether or not my son lives or dies.
basically. And I've got my lady's family calling me. I've got my family calling. Everyone's like excited. Obviously, everyone. I'm telling them the truth. Like, look, we're going through a situation right now. Like, I don't even know how to explain this to anyone. Like, he's just not right. Like, so I'm having to like say these things to other people, and I don't even know what I'm saying
Right.
really. So, yeah. So he gets up to, um, yeah, my lady gets there, and I immediately go to the other side of the hospital. Got to go through the whole COVID thing again. Luckily, there was a super nice police officer dude there who like let me slip through one of the other doors. I probably shouldn't have said that. I won't say his name. Shout out to you, Roger. Um, I'm kidding. That's not his name. But he let me through one of the doors just so I could like go take care of business. And just to tell you about this story, we were at the hospital for 22 days. Like, I stayed at the hospital for 22 days. Like, so everybody knows me there now. Like, I could go in there and like buy people lunch and like high five and like talk about our month together. Um, so yeah,
So now, which is crazy when you think of that, that so your son's first 21 days on this earth was spent in a hospital, and you spent your son's first 21 days in a hospital.
yeah.
So how, as far as for you, how did that do for you? What kind of mindset were you in? What kind of thoughts were going through your head during these 21 days?
It was really weird. Like, I probably got the least amount of sleep that I've like ever gotten in a month because COVID hit, so the work office closed, and I'm trying to work from home, but we're having the baby, so like I work like what did I work like
You were
three
three
to
to midnight.
12,
Yeah, 3 to 12.
3 to 12 every day, like so. Yeah, those are really odd hours. So, like, I was like getting no sleep, and then obviously the baby came at 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, like those really odd times. So imagine there's no sleeping happening right now for me. Like nothing is sleep. So I'm even working from the hospital. Like that's what was happening. I'm working from the hospital while trying to like I won't say like I was taking care of these two people, but all the nurses knew me. I was with my son. I was like with my lady at the hospital, had my laptop, working at the same time. I also work at like a recording studio, so I was like running back and forth to work there as I could, which is like really really tough. Um, so yeah, there was no sleep happening, and luckily they have like sleep rooms at the hospital. So because I was there for so long, they like gave me a sleep room, which is basically like a hotel room without a TV.
Right.
Which was like I didn't need a TV. I just needed like
You just needed a place to lay your head for a
just
little
go
bit.
in there for like at least a couple hours. I would just go in there for like 3 hours and then go back and sit in the room with the baby or go back to the other side of the hotel. I said the hotel. That's what it felt like.
When you're there for 21 days, it
That's
feels like a
what it
hotel.
felt like, the other side of the hospital to be with my lady, and it was mostly just tiring.
Right.
Like just emotionally tiring, mentally tiring. I'm like dealing with two sets of different kinds of information. Like, okay, your son has this all going on, and then I'm going over to check on her, and it's like the nurses are telling me like, okay, this is what she needs to be doing. She doesn't need to be really getting up, eating, yada yada yada, taking her pills, her medicine. Of course, everyone's there to help, but like,
But still,
I'm like
the
only,
weight is on you.
Yeah, I'm like the only person who can actually be there. They're not letting family in.
Right.
Like I can't take a break and like let her mom come up or her sister come see her or anything. Like it's just me. And I think that was the part that was just kind of weighing on me. And cuz I was like, man, like if I ever told someone I was like really tired, it would just feel like complaining to me, and I didn't feel like I had like the right to be tired in that moment. Like she just carried my kid for like 9 months. She's like beat up and exhausted right now, like trying to heal, and I'm perfectly fine essentially, you know. And so I didn't really have time to even like really think about it. So it
So
was that was that zombie thing that I was saying. Like I didn't even have those.
you were just going on
Yep,
adrenaline at that
just
point.
going.
Yeah.
I would go home to like take a shower. Also, totally forgot. Moved into a new apartment that same week and was like moving my stuff in. Like, yeah, I didn't.
So we're gonna fast forward a little bit. So we went through. So you went through. So eventually they had the procedure,
Yeah, they did the first part, which was successful.
and then
He
they
waited 2
actually
days on that Friday.
did full open heart surgery
Yep,
on a infant.
yep.
So he went through that, came out like a champ because the one thing you did was you brought a warrior into this world. You
Yeah.
you and your lady brought a warrior into this world.
Yeah, our son's different.
Yeah, he built different.
He before he even had the heart surgery, they were worried, like the main heart surgery, they were worried about his breathing. And the night of he pulled his breathing tubes out, like,
I'm gonna show y'all what I can do.
and was breathing perfectly fine on his own, like before the actual heart surgery.
Right.
Like, which was insane. Like that was crazy. Like they were like really shocked. They're like, we've never seen that. Like,
They didn't know what kid they had. That's what it is.
yeah, he just wanted them to know like it's gonna be cool when you guys do the heart surgery. Like, I'll be okay. Just do your best work, and he'll do the rest. And so yeah, the heart surgery was just fine.
So he
and
came through that. So he came through the heart surgery. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit. So now you get the word that he's breathing on his own. His heart is well. He can now go home. So now you bring him home. Walk me through that experience.
it was probably like the longest day. That was probably like the longest day actually, because the day before he came home was Mother's Day, and yeah, so we spent Mother's Day in the hospital, and then he came home the next day. And I was like still moving into the apartment. I was trying to get things situated, and it was really really exciting and like super scary actually.
Because now the whole, I mean, you had already been a father. So the moment he came into the world, you became a father. But now you actually have him now. You actually have him with no one in the way, no doctors, no nurses, no tubes, no
Yeah.
nothing. It's just you and him.
But I'm also traumatized. Like, to be frank, I'm traumatized by the truth of what happened. Is
Right.
because every single day for 22 days, I got to hear a machine beep. Like, I got to see numbers fluctuate. And now we were like taking off these things that we were accustomed to seeing. I was accustomed to seeing when his heart rate would go up for absolutely no reason at all.
Right.
To now we're like first parents and we're guessing like, is he breathing okay? Like,
When did it first hit you? When did it like really sink in that, oh snap, I'm really a father and I really gotta raise a kid now?
probably like after the first week of being there. The first week was 70 diapers. 70 diapers.
The first week was 70 diapers.
70 diapers. Counted them. Like 7. And we have a really nice diaper pail.
Right.
It's an incredible one. 70 diapers. Like, yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Like, yeah.
So, all right, so I got a question for you. So because I'm curious, and we, excuse me, we've kind of had this conversation off air, but I just want to have it real quick. So with everything that he's been through, but of course he's a warrior. He came out strong. He's good. He's perfect little baby now, which is just amazing. But the elephant in the room is that you have now been blessed with a black male son.
Yeah.
So with what you've been seeing with everything that's going on with the revolution basically that's going on right now, how does that make you feel? Where do you put that? Because now you have you're not only a black male that walks around this earth,
For sure.
but now you have a black male son that you raise in this world. Where are you with that?
Uh, that's like the number two concern. Like I would say, like the first concern, and this is gonna sound like really trivial, I feel, but like it's making sure my son can run full speed. Like I know that sounds odd, but like because he had that heart surgery, and they like assured me like, okay, like once we do this heart surgery, there's no other surgery that needs to happen.
Right.
He's a perfectly well human. He's just gonna have a scar forever, and I just want to see him run.
To truly know that he's really okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
And then I fear for him being a black man. And this is going to be a really bad joke, but if he couldn't run from the cops, I'd be even more worried.
No, unfortunately that's understandable. It's not a really a bad joke. It's understandable.
Like, if he couldn't do it, I'd be like, well, stay out of trouble, kid. Like, I don't know. Like,
So
at least you could run, but if you couldn't run, like, I don't know.
right.
But that's my second fear is like, oh, you're black, and not just black. Like he's good looking. Like
He's a beautiful little boy.
I'm not just saying that because he's mine. I'm like, this is a good looking kid.
Yeah,
like,
he's beautiful.
Like that part worries me too, because then it's like there's already like a stigma for like black men. I mean, I might look a little scary, but he's not gonna look scary. So maybe he's gonna look like he's a pushover. I just don't know what it is for other
Right.
people. You know, I don't know what triggers other people. But yeah, I worry about it because it's like so prevalent. Like, dang, I hate that this is even like a relevant conversation we could have after like 402 years.
Yeah.
But
So
it's scary.
So here's my question for you, because I know there's a lot that you plan on. I didn't mean to hit that. I know there's a lot that you plan on teaching this young man, a lot that you plan on instilling in him. But I'm curious if sum it up in one thing. So what's the one thing that you're gonna want to be able that your son be able to look back and say, my dad taught me this? What's that one thing?
Probably just like integrity. It's just like for himself, like the way he wants to carry himself in life. Like you be right for you. You be honest. You be responsible. Be responsive and not reactive. I think those are all qualities of a man who carries himself with great integrity.
Right.
And respectful. I think those are all things that fit like right into that kind of quality of a man that I believe he's gonna be. And yeah, just that, and then also like to never take anything from anyone. Not necessarily like a gift or something, but like
I know what you mean.
like handle your own. That's a stand up for what you believe in, like, and then also believe in yourself. So make sure you're standing up for you. And
I love it. So I want to, before we close out, I want to thank you for sitting down and having this conversation. I know it takes a lot. I know it takes a lot for you to do this.
thanks.
I know it takes a lot for you to actually have this particular conversation, because it's not an easy conversation to have.
No, I actually haven't even like told my friends that my kid had heart surgery. Like most people don't even know.
Right.
I feel like it wasn't like a talking point for me to like be sharing with people. Like I wouldn't mind sharing it. It's just I don't want him to be looked at like he's some kind of different kid. Like there's nothing wrong with him. That's how I see it, you
Right.
know? So like there's nothing to talk about.
So it's two things we're going to do real quick. So, the first thing I want you to do is, because the possibility of another parent listening to this is going through something very similar is very high. So I want you to give a small piece of advice to a parent that's gone through a similar situation that you went through with your son. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, I want you to spend a little bit of time talking about your music and where it can be found, and anybody who wants to listen to it, where can they go? So let's start with let's start with advice.
Sure. Just two pieces of advice, like super simple. The first one was like what I previously have spoken on earlier in the podcast at the beginning, which is just breathing, like really understated. And then the second part would be it's kind of coupled with that, but just enjoy the windows and step outside. Um, Outside is really good. Like, I just can't explain what it was like to just kind of sit in the hospital all day and just walk outside. And then when you, like, cross over the threshold, like, new sounds. There's, like, fresh air. There's
Right.
people talking. There's people moving. There's things walking. I'm not saying to distract yourself, but I am saying to have a moment for you, for sure. You don't have to stray far, but definitely take a moment to just breathe and enjoy the scenes because you're there. And I had to look out the window a lot while I was there. Not because I didn't want to see my son with all these tubes and things inside of him, because it was more than I've ever seen on anyone. But I just had to take in those moments that, like, he was okay, and I was okay, and she was okay, and we were actually all there together, and the people that were there to help us, and the worst thing that I could have possibly done in those moments was overreact.
Right.
Yeah. So just take those moments to breathe and really enjoy the windows, the outside, the world around you. Don't get so caught up in the emotional battle you're going through, because it's happening. It's happening. There's no way to escape that part. There's nothing that's really going to distract you from how you actually feel, but having those moments to go within yourself and just relax.
I actually really like that advice, especially the windows, because that can be taken one or two different ways. Literally, as far as looking out the window, but then also metaphorically, where even in the chaos, there's going to be a pocket of a window where it's going to calm down for a moment, and you're going to see your baby smile, or you're going to see your loved one laugh, and in those moments, enjoy that window.
Yeah.
So I love it. Now, like I said, before we wrap up, so, and for anyone who says, no, I've never heard his music, yeah, if you've ever listened to a Crenshaw Corner podcast, if you've ever listened to a Midweek Moment, you've heard his music, because the intro and the outro that we use was a song that was created by him, by my son. He actually did the music. So just kind of really quick, if you had to describe your music, how would you describe it?
Dang, that's like the elevator question.
Yeah, it is.
I hate that. I hate that I'm not good. I don't hate the question. I hate that I'm not good at answering that question because I have like 101 things in my head. All right, I would say it's like hip hop, soul. Yeah. Hip hop soul.
Hip hop soul.
Yeah,
All
that's basically where I live.
So if anyone wants to go out and sample your music or listen to your music, where can they find it?
Everywhere. Really broad brush of the strokes right there. Yeah, everywhere. Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Google Play, Pandora, Napster, YouTube Music.
And what do you go by? What's your artist name?
Yeah, Day Brown, DAY, the color brown. First, all right, here. Go check out my video, Vibrant. Vivrant. It's on YouTube, Vibrant by Day Brown. It's like an ode to the old hip-hop song Vibrant Thing by Q-Tip. It's like a classic record. Check it out. You'll love the video. It's a love song. I wrote about my lady. It's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Don't really care what anyone else thinks about that part. But really, the video is probably my best work yet. It's actually my first directorial debut. I directed the entire video. Yeah, check out Vibrant by Dave Brown. It's also on all platforms. You can check it out anywhere. And then once you find that, you'll find the rest of the music, and you'll find yourself liking some stuff for sure.
Yeah. I told you when I opened the podcast, I told you how talented he is. I'm not just saying that because he is my son. If one thing my son knows about me, that I'm gonna tell him the truth. So if he sucks in something, I'm gonna tell him he sucks.
Yeah.
But no, he's very talented when it comes to his music. Like I said, he's a writer. He produces, he creates music, and that's the thing. My son is an artist. He's not just a rapper. He's not just a singer. He is a true artist. He creates. Yeah. So if you're interested, he's told you how to go see it or go listen to it. But from the bottom of my heart, son, I do want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me and open up and be vulnerable. Like I said, I know it wasn't easy, and I thank you. And family, thank you guys for sitting down and listening to this conversation. Hopefully you gleaned something from it, understanding that. And the purpose of this particular conversation was to show that it really doesn't matter the age that you are. We all go through something in life, but it's not the fact that we go through something, but it's how you go through it. It's your perspective as you go through it. Like Dave said, finding the windows, because I don't care how chaotic life may be, there's always going to be a window, and just find your window. So we thank you for being a part of this, guys. Thank you for listening. As always, we consider ourselves an interactive podcast. You can find us on the socials. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, all under Crenshaw Corner. We have an email address, thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com. Once again, thecrenshawcorner@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio. You can also find us on our personal website at www.thecrenshawcorner.com. And family, welcome to our journey.